think it's been a few years since I've heard that song. It's a really beautiful song, and I'm grateful for you guys singing it. Um, there's this song, we actually haven't sung this song in a long time for a specific reason, and I guess now is as good of time to explain that to you. So in one of the verses, it ends, "Fearful is the time to come when the price is paid. One and all will face the judgment from an angry God." Right? So if you know the song, you know that verse is in there. And I've never liked that personally, that statement. And I always had this kind of a thought that was maybe a mistranslation of the song. So I reached out to a friend of mine who actually knows Korean and English, and he confirmed to me, yeah, that's not in the original song. That's just how they translated it to make the song work in English. I would like to. That's what I was waiting for, and I tried a couple times to come up with a new way of wording that, and it was worse. Not that the wording was worse, but you couldn't sing it that way. So I'm not the person for this. But somebody could maybe come up with something that's a little bit more true to the translation. The translation is more reflective of a grieving heart, or a grieving God, not an angry God that's there to spite us. So anyway, that's just a little side note there. I noticed that. Thank you, Alice. But in the future, I would like to adjust that song a little bit to be more true to the real meaning of the song, which I think would do it justice. And so we can actually sing the song, because it is a very beautiful song. It's actually one of my favorite holy songs, but we don't sing it because of that particular reason. So my topic today is rediscovering our purpose. And I don't know about you, but I've been really enjoying this fall season. Some of you may have seen my social media post, but I have colorblind corrective glasses, and I've had them on and off. I had a pair a number of years ago, and I lost that pair. No idea what happened to it, and I didn't get any for a long time because they're expensive. But then earlier this year, Adonia really encouraged me to get another pair of colorblind corrective glasses, and so this is my first fall season wearing the glasses, and it's been really an inspirational experience for me to be able to drive around, to walk around, to be able to experience the fall colors closer to how you guys see them. I'm assuming you all, nobody here is colorblind. Is anyone here colorblind, just out of curiosity? Not that you know of? Okay, great. I didn't figure it out until high school, I think, is what middle school, high school, I don't remember. And and we've had such a nice fall this year, and I've really just been enjoying all the color, and it feels like nature is taking a long breath, like holding its breath, and then getting ready to dive into winter. So I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as possible. I hope all of you have been as well. I think it's really God's gift to us, these beautiful fall seasons and spring. That actually doesn't have anything to do with my message. I just wanted to say that. So I was having a conversation with a group of pastors and people that we kind of feel that we have a kindredness with, kindred spirits in the church, and we have a video call every month or two or so, and we were just talking about many, many different things. Things that inspire us, things that bother us, things that all these different things. Very open group, very open conversation. And one of the things one of my friends pointed out was that we were just talking about, what is the essence of being Unificationists? What really separates us from other faiths or from Christianity as a whole? What makes us unique, or what differentiates being a Unificationist versus being a traditional Christian? And one of the things that he was saying that he feels really strongly is that one of the things that really defines being a Unificationist is this kind of a pledge or a commitment that we all make. And that is like a commitment to building God's ideal world. And I had to think about that for a while, because growing up in this church, I've always grown up hearing this concept of building the ideal world, right? We almost talk about it maybe a little bit too much. Everything is going towards building an ideal world, building God's kingdom. And I think that I kind of became a little bit thinking that many people must think this way, right? Many people think about, how we can build God's world, build God's ideal. But I was reflecting on what he said, and I realized that actually there's very few people that actually think about that or consider that to be something to work towards in their life. Because most people of faith don't really have a concept of that God is trying to build the ideal world here on this earth. Most people are thinking in terms of God's kingdom is somewhere else. It's somewhere we go to. It's somewhere where if we have the correct beliefs, that God will choose our group of people amongst all the other people of the world, and that group of people with that specific set of beliefs will enjoy God's kingdom. And every group has the thought that they're the group, right? And many times even a specific number, like the Bible mentions 144,000. And or that there's like the idea that there is a God, but it's not that God necessarily is trying to build the kingdom of heaven on earth per se, but just that things are going and there is a God. And the idea that God's actually trying to take this world, this messed up world, and all the years, biblically, 6,000 years, it's been a lot more than that. All the years of sacrifice and martyrdom and good people, people of conscience, people of faith, martyrs, patriots, conscientious people, all the sacrifices and all the investment and all the biblical central figures and providential figures, all of that is actually working towards a specific purpose that God is striving for. And it's actually the same original purpose that God created and set forth at the beginning. And that didn't work out, so God is just in a long alternate path to creating that world. And all of human history and everything that's come up until now has been that alternate path to create that world. That's actually a very distinctly unificationist way of thinking. That God has a plan to save not just a set group of people, people who do certain things or believe certain things, but actually God has a plan to save all of the world, even to raise up and restore people that died years ago and are stuck in lower realms of spirit world. God has a plan to lift those people out of their circumstances as well. That God has this plan to create this world that has no suffering, that doesn't have a hint of evil, and a world where God and his children live in oneness of heart. This oneness of heart is kind of something that I was thinking about this morning because I had this interesting experience this morning. And I was sitting over at the house, and I'm sitting at the dining room table, and I'm working on my sermon. And I see through the window a head leaving our yard, walking out to the street. And I'm like, there shouldn't be anybody out there. The whole family's asleep. What is going on? So I stand up and I look closer and I realize, this guy is walking out with something of ours. And so I chase him down and I'm like, that's mine. It was a leaf blower and with a battery and everything. And I was like, that's mine. I grabbed it from him. He let it go and he just kept walking off. And I was like, threw me off the whole morning. I was like, I can't believe this happened. And in broad daylight. I mean, it was early in the morning, but still. But I was reflecting on that experience a little bit this morning, and I was like, we as human beings we're in such a poor place spiritually in our connection with God and our connection with ourselves. We don't feel the pain that we cause our fellow human beings when we do things like that. Of course, that's a minor thing. People do terrible things to other people all the time. This is a relatively minor thing. Yeah, we would have been fine. We would have got a new leaf blower. We would have got a new battery. Life would have moved on, right? But, to know that there are many people in this world who feel like that's how they can survive, or they feel like that's okay to take from another human being to live. But also for myself, I could recognize too, like, even in that moment, I couldn't really feel that person's heart. I didn't know what their life was like or what they were going through. That person may just have been in the low of their life. And it was a recognition for me, also my inability to really understand what kind of life is this person living? What are they going through? I was just upset because they tried to steal some of my stuff. But there's a whole nother paradigm of that I also need to clue into. That's also pretty important, that I think God also sees that person's heart, that person's life, what they've been through, why are they doing the things that they're doing. It's this disconnection because we lost our connection with God so long ago, and we can't connect as a human race. We can't connect as all being of one human race, all children of the same God. And that's why people are killing each other and doing terrible things to each other in the Middle East and all over the world. It's definitely not. If someone says the world is okay, they're living in a bubble of their own creation. The world is not okay. And the world is not the world that God created it to be. So this concept of us actually having this idea of trying to build God's ideal world is actually a little bit more, this week actually took on some greater meaning and depth to me than it ever has in the past growing up. I think maybe because I heard it so much growing up, it lost some of its value to me, so to speak, but I'm starting to reconnect to it now. I'm starting to realize that's a really meaningful thing. It's actually a really beautiful concept to dedicate one's life to not just being successful, not just having a good family, although those are things that are important, but also to recognizing that there is a God. There's a God that cares deeply about this world, that cares deeply about my life, that's constantly looking after what are my son's needs, what are my daughter's needs. And then recognizing that God needs to work in partnership with us. If he could have fixed all the problems of the world, if he could have created that ideal world by himself, he would have snapped his fingers and he would have done it a long time ago. But God needs to work in partnership with his children. He created us that way, to be co-creators with him. So that's our blessing, to be able to live a life where we can actually offer something that's of meaning and value to God. That through living our lives, through our marriages, through raising our families, through receiving the blessing, through our unique characters, our passions, our abilities, becoming people of faith, of humility, of gratitude, through understanding who God is and what God needs, we actually can offer something of value and meaning to God. We can understand our purpose in life. This is this is a quote from the Divine Principle that I've always really liked. It's from that section on restoration. As an individual, each one of us is a product of the history of the province of restoration. Hence, the person who is to accomplish the purpose of history is none other than I myself. I must take up the cross of history and accept responsibility to fulfill its calling. So because this is what we believe, we can't just be indifferent in life. We can't just be apathetic and live our life and ignore the issues in the world or the needs that God may have of each and every one of us. In some way or fashion, we need to find a way to be a part of it, to offer something, to contribute something based off of what do I have to offer. And this is an excerpt from The Mother of Peace, Mother's Memoir. I've been reading it again recently, and this part kind of stuck out to me, and I wanted to share it. Especially during this time, the Bible was my close companion. I cried myself to sleep many nights after reading about God's history of creation, the tragic fall, and God's work of salvation carried out through historical figures, who took responsibility at the behest of heaven. I learned how they sacrificed themselves and realized that God created us so he could love us as his children. After reading God's bitter history and his desire to embrace us, even though we give him only pain and sadness, it was not just for once or twice that I lay awake, unable to sleep, my heart aching for him. I naturally continued to ponder ever more deeply what Teacher Moon had said to me about sacrifice. The question, what can I sacrifice for God, was shaping my life. Without sacrifice and service, one cannot even begin to think one is living for the sake of others, rather than for oneself. As I strictly cultivated my faith from a young age, I cherished a dream deep within my heart. That dream was to liberate my Heavenly Father, who throughout history gave himself for the salvation of humanity. I wished to free him from the chains of our fallen history. So as I mentioned before, and as is kind of stated in that quote, God is, what is it? He said, God gives himself for the salvation of humanity. There's nothing more important to God. God seeks to answer our prayers and to fulfill our needs and to help us in the direction that we're trying to go in our life. But God also has needs, and this is something that's very clearly taught to us through our teachings. And we can't live our life being indifferent to that. When I spend time reading Father's autobiography, Mother's memoir, different speeches over the years, the life of Jesus, I can't help but feel really humbled and moved by the level of dedication that they have lived their life with the sole purpose of serving God and serving humanity. And I've had the privilege of being able to have grown up in this church and to being able to have seen their lives and to have crossed their paths many times, father and mother, and to be able to witness firsthand their dedication to attending God. It's not like a fairy tale or something that somebody made up. It's a real thing. And it's not like we have to live that way or that we should live that way. And it's the same like Adonia and I are the pastors here. We don't expect everyone to have that same calling or same passion. That's something we are passionate to do, We don't expect everyone to have that passion. Some of you have a calling to do something different, to contribute in some other way. And I think that the main point of this sermon today is to really consider what it is that you would like to offer, what you would like to put on the table, because it is different for each person. And many times, as parents or as pastors, or maybe in your own life, you've had this experience where you made a sacrifice because you wanted to make a foundation for your kids, or because you wanted to make a better future for somebody else. And I think that many times it's the same situation with this kind of a thing. It's not that we are called to make those same sacrifices, we're just called to participate in some way. This is from 1 Peter. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength that God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. And this is from Ecclesiastes. So I commend the enjoyment of life, because there is nothing better for a person under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad. Then joy will accompany them in their toil all the days of the life that God has given them under the sun. So when I read these kind of verses, what sticks out to me is this idea that we each have something different to offer. And I've said this many times. We've talked about this many times. But I think it's important to remind ourselves, because I think it's easy to get caught up in the routineness of life, or like the things that we have to do to get by, the things that we have to do to make money, the things that we have to do to take care of our families, to take care of our well-being. We have to survive. But it's really easy to lose sight of what do I really want to do? Because those two things aren't often the same. Actually, many times they're not the same thing. The things that we have to do, or the things that we feel obligated to do, and the things that we want to do. The things that we love to do, the things that we enjoy doing, the things that we get fulfillment out of doing, the things that help us to grow, the things that make us feel connected to God. We can have years go by in our life and not do any of that. But understanding that God is loving us and seeking to fulfill our needs and trying to build his ideal world, if we know that God is like that, and we know that God needs our help, I have to go back to this point that my friend made on the video call. What separates us? What differentiates us from other people, other groups? And there's probably more than one thing, but the one thing he said is really sticking out to me. It's a pledge to build God's ideal world. And that's a really kind of a big concept. It's maybe a bit too big, because I don't know how to build God's ideal world. I don't know how long that's going to take or what I have to offer. Maybe some of you are thinking that. I know I think it many times. But that's what it means. That's a part of what it means to be a Unificationist. That's a part of what it means that when we live our life, even the small things that we do, they take on a greater meaning. It's not just about raising our family. It's raising our family to build God's ideal world. It's not about making money. It's about making money, and I can contribute to building God's world through that money. Or just anything you want to add in there. You want to lose some weight? It's a good thing to do. Lose some weight for the sake of building God's ideal world, so that you can be a person that sticks around for a long time, that you can be a part of it. I think it's important for us to understand that every person is going to offer something a little bit different. I've met and spent a lot of time with most of you in this room, and I can confidently say that there is not one thing that I could expect that everybody could rally around. Not one thing that all of you could get behind as like, oh, that's what I'm really excited about. That's what I'm really passionate about. That's what I really want to do. But everybody has something really unique and special, beautiful. I think that's something that God implanted in each and every one of us, that we have that conscience, that original desire, that original mind to want to do something big, to want to do something great, to want to make a difference. And then in this context of we're working to build God's ideal world. I mean, I don't have any concept that I'm going to experience that in my lifetime. I just want to be a part of it. I just want to do something for it. I want to nudge us even a tiny centimeter along the way. And I just want us to do it together. So, please think about what it is in your life that you love to do, that you feel passionate to do. What can you do maybe to offer something to God through your passion, through your gift, through your desire? And maybe sit on that, maybe percolate on that, maybe consider like what can I offer? What can I do? What would be meaningful to God through this gift that I have, or through this even experience that I overcame, painful experience that I overcame. Yeah, I mean, that's honestly my message today. Yeah, please join me in prayer. Good morning, our dearest Heavenly Parent. We are so grateful for your presence in our lives. We are grateful to be here among so many beautiful brothers and sisters who are all striving to build your kingdom, Heavenly Parent. We don't even know what it looks like, this world that you envisioned from the beginning, that you tried to create through Adam and Eve, and you lost, and ever since then have been working to create. And we don't know what it's like because we haven't experienced it. And so much of our life is pain and challenges, and of course, we experience joy and beauty too, but not the way that you envisioned us living in, Heavenly Parent, not that world. And I just pray, Heavenly Parent, that just like our founders and just like Jesus really tuned into your heart, really tuned into what was your desire, what is your desire today and through all of history up until now, that we can tune in too, that we can tune in our small ways, that we can offer something of value and meaning to help bring that world, Heavenly Parent, that you have sought for, and ourselves too, without realizing it, we long for, to be able to live in a world like that. We get by the best we can in the world that we live in, but we know that you wanted so much more for your children than what there is for us. But Heavenly Parent, you are there for us. You're with us, Heavenly Parent. I pray that we can be with you, that we can seek to help you, Heavenly Parent, that we can attend you, that we can offer our gifts and our strengths and our passions to you, Heavenly Parent, that we can all strive together and work together to build the world, the ideal world, with you, Heavenly Parent. I offer this prayer in our names, bless Central families. Amen and adieu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Mike.